When my wife Sienna lost everything, her family, her money, I left her. After she rebuilt her empire, I showed up at her door every year. Year 1, I brought our son Leo. She threw 50 grand at me and told me to get lost. Year 2, I showed her my terminal cancer diagnosis. She didn't even look at it, gave me 100,000, and said to disappear forever. Years 3 and 4, I did what she wanted. And quote, I died. Year 5, he got a call from our son. Dad, when are you bringing the food? I'm starving. Dad, I'm so hungry. I watched my 4-year-old son Leo sneak away from the shelter, find my old phone, charge it up and try to call someone. Just like he'd seen me do when I was bedridden and dying. I lived off Doordash. My orders were always cheap, so they came last. When Leo got hungry, I'd call the delivery guy to hurry up. Leo thought calling someone would magically make food appear. He kept dialing. The dim screen lit up his little face. But this time he'd accidentally called my emergency contact, Sienna. I tried to stop him, but my hand went right through him. Damn it. 3 years dead and I still forget I'm just a ghost. Leo, don't call her. She won't pick up. She probably still thinks I'm just some gold digger who bailed when times got tough. Go open that little wooden box on the table. I left you some money. Most of the cash I took from Sienna went into a trust fund for Leo. The box had about $1,000 for emergencies. Like he could actually hear me. Leo walked over and grabbed the box and a cold voice came through the phone. Dean Harrison. I froze. The call had been connected for over a minute. Didn't I tell you to go die somewhere? Her tone was flat. Hold his ice. Like always, I felt this deep shame wash over me. My son's own mother was cursing me out right in front of him. And they didn't even know who each other was. She laughed bitterly. Need more money? Fine. Come beg for it. Leo's eyes lit up. His tiny voice piped into the phone. Ma'am, when are you bringing my food? I'm hungry. Silence. Dean on. You mean Dad? Leo's face fell. But he can't come to the phone. Sienna's voice sharpened. What do you mean he can't? Dad says he's sleeping. A 4.5-year-old doesn't understand death. A harsh laugh came through. She clearly didn't buy this excuse. Is that right? I'm curious what new scam he's running now. I tried to smile, but I couldn't. What scam? I didn't even have enough energy to float over and haunt her. Leo hung up, his face hopeful. He curled up on our beat-up sofa waiting. But I was freaking out. Sienna hated me so much. What would she do to our son? An hour later, someone knocked. My non-existent heart was pounding. Don't open the door, Leo. Leo already had it open. No food outside. Just several guys in dark suits. Security guards. They searched the tiny apartment, confirmed no one else was there, and took my son. No. I was completely helpless, watching them carry Leo away. When Sienna opened her door, she saw Leo, face streaked with tears. She looked past him, gaining the empty space. Where's that man? That man? Me. I looked down. In her mind, I wasn't even worth a name anymore. The bodyguard answered. When we got there, only the kid was home. Leo broke free and hugged Sienna's leg. Lady, those bad men grabbed me. I was shocked. This was only the 3rd time Leo had ever seen Sienna. He had no idea she was the mother who refused to claim him. But blood called to blood. He felt drawn to her without knowing why. Sienna looked uncomfortable. She frowned. He's really heartless. Sending his own kid to face my anger. I waved my hands uselessly. No, Leo's not a kid. He's our child. She'd never believe it. After she gave birth, the doctors found Leo had the Way family's genetic heart condition. I went to her then. I can still hear her words. Baby I had was stillborn. Dean Harrison. You think I'm the same gullible Sienna you tricked before? Fool me once. Shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Get out. Here's 20,000. That's what our 5 years together were worth. I said. It's not enough. She didn't want the boy, but the boy needed surgery money. Sienna gritted her teeth. You're so damn greedy. Fine. Here's 50,000. That's all you're worth. 5 years of love sold like a cheap commodity. I knew this would make Sienna hate me, but I didn't care. Leo got his surgery. With that money, he'd live a healthy life. That made it all worth it now. Sienna spoke to Leo coldly. Tell me, where's your father hiding? Leo looked up with teary eyes. He looks so much like me. Sienna seemed lost in thought for a moment. Dad sleeps during the day. At night he goes up to be a star. Sienna's expression hardened. She pulled her leg away. Playing the pity card now, huh? Leo stumbled and fell on his butt. I tried to catch him using all my strength, but he fell right through my arms. The little box he was holding crashed to the floor too. My son, who hadn't eaten a real meal in 2 days, struggled to get up. My heart was breaking. Sienna watched coldly, though her fists were clenched tight. Leo hugged the box to his chest, then bravely patted his own bottom. Dad, it doesn't hurt. For a second I wondered if he could actually see me. Then I remembered when I was paralyzed, dying from stomach cancer. He learned to take care of me at just 2 years old. He even tried collecting bottles while I slept. One day, he came back hurt after fighting with a stray dog over trash. I coughed up blood from the shock. He smiled and told me he wasn't hurt. Sienna looked around. Dean Harrison come out? The room stayed silent. I was standing right in front of her, but she couldn't see me. After a moment, my absence pissed her off. Her voice dripped with contempt. So heartless. Using a kid this small as a pawn. Get him out of here. She said this and walked into her fancy house. Security guys dumped Leo on the big, unfamiliar street. Night had fallen. Leo stood there alone and confused. He talked to the little box. Dad, where should I go now? My heart ached. I could only hope someone from the shelter would notice he was missing soon. Leo looked up at the moon. Dad, if I follow the moon, will I find you? He was too hungry to walk straight and fell twice. Finally, he found a public trash can and spotted half a piece of cake inside. His eyes lit up. He grabbed the stale, sour-smelling cake and shoved it in his mouth. I was crying trying to stop him. Leo, don't eat that. You'll get sick. He couldn't hear me, but someone else knocked the cake out of his hand. It was Sienna. She'd appeared without me. Noticing, he looked at my dirty, starving son and clenched her jaw. Dean Harrison, is this how you treat your son? She forced him into her car. Leo started screaming and crying. Why won't you let me eat? You're mean. He tried to lick his fingers. Sienna grabbed his hands with the mix of disgust and careful precision. She wiped them clean with a wet wipe. Didn't your father teach you not to eat things off the ground? Her movements were gentle but firm. I remembered when we were together. She always took care of me like that. My friends called her the mom friend. Gentle and thoughtful. But Leo was as stubborn as me. He pushed her away and his little hand smacked her cheek. I don't want you mean lady. I flinched, terrified, and looked at Sienna. She didn't look angry. She lowered her eyes, tossed the wipe, and stared out the window, refusing to look at the face that looked so much like mine. Her voice was bitter-tempered, just like your father's. Thank God he's not mine. I gave a sad, silent laugh. Sorry to disappoint. The little box slipped from Leo's lap. She bent down to pick it up. She looked at the dirty wooden box like it seemed familiar somehow. I instinctively wanted to stop her. If she opened it, she'd learn the truth from all those years ago. She'd spend the rest of her life drowning in guilt. Better she hate me than carry that burden. But I looked at Leo, and part of me wanted him safe with his mother. I wanted her to open it. I was torn. She just tossed the box back in Leo's lap. Stop picking up junk. I wasn't sure if I felt relieved or disappointed. Sienna brought Leo back to her mansion. She told the housekeeper to make some food, adding, after glancing at Leo's skinny frame, something easy to digest. I don't know how that man raises a kid. Skinny as a stick. I think. I didn't marry someone like him. I nodded. I was a terrible father. Sienna sat at the dining table, watching Leo pick the carrots out of his food. She frowned and snapped without thinking. Dean Harrison, don't pick at your food. Both of us froze when she said that name. I'm keeping you right here. No way Dean won't come get you. With that, Sienna got up and went upstairs, looking like she was running away. Leo's eyes brightened. Really? Dad's coming to get me? That night, Leo refused to sleep in the guest room. He insisted on the sofa. The nanny couldn't convince him otherwise. Sienna finally got annoyed. Kids are such a pain. Whatever. Let him sleep wherever he wants. Leo slept on the sofa for 3 days straight. Seeing him curled up in a tiny ball, Sienna frowned hard. Was your father so cruel? He never let you sleep in a bed? Leo shook his head. No way. Dad sleeps on the sofa. Sienna didn't get it, but I was crying. We only had one sofa. When my illness got worse, I was often passed out on it, and Leo thought I was just sleeping. He'd climb into my arms and hold me tight. Even at the shelter, he preferred the sofa in the lobby, like he was sleeping in my embrace. Sienna started working from home recently, often staring at the door. She watched Leo, who was also watching the door, and asked, Hey, what's your name? Leo Harrison. Leo Harrison, your father abandoned you too? Leo instantly looked fierce. No way. My dad would never leave me. Oh really? Then why hasn't he shown up to get you after a whole week? Right then the doorbell rang. Sienna jumped up, a look of grim satisfaction on her face. Your father's here. Leo scrambled to his feet, staring at the door with desperate hope. When the door opened, they both froze. Leo pounded. Liar. That's not Dad. The guy at the door was handsome, wearing a white button-down. I'd seen him once before, when Leo had just had his surgery. He was with Sienna, leaving an OBGYN, looking pretty cozy. The man glanced at Leo, confused. Where'd this kid come from? Sienna answered flatly. Just picked him up off the street. His eyes widened. You're collecting kids now? Then he remembered something and pointed angrily at the flower bed. Who pulled up my sunflowers? My heart sank. They were living together. Sienna glanced at Leo, who barely came up to her knee. Leo guiltily looked away and went back to the sofa. Sienna seemed unbothered. They're just flowers. Plant more. The guy didn't push it. He followed Sienna inside. But as soon as he sat on the sofa, he covered his nose. What's that weird smell? Sienna, you said you're super sensitive to smells because you're pregnant. Can't you smell this? I stared at her flat stomach, shocked. After watching how she treated Leo these past few days, I'd hoped she'd realize he was our child and treat him well. But now she was having a baby with another man. What would happen to my son? Sienna finally noticed the strange odor. She looked at Leo on the sofa. She walked over, picked Leo up, and pulled back the cushion. A pile of food wrapped in plastic bags, 7 dead sunflowers fell out. Both of them were speechless. Sienna's face turned red with anger. Leo Harrison. What the hell are you doing? Leo wailed. Don't touch my stuff. I was saving them for Dad. I remembered when Leo was tiny, out collecting trash. Sometimes kind people would see him and buy him food. Never ate any of it himself. Always brought it home to me after he went to the shelter. The director taught him a few times and he learned to eat some. But he always saved what he thought was the best. Other kids avoided him because they said he smelled bad. Sienna's expression was complicated. Why would you do that? Leo cried hard. Dad never got to eat anything good. You said he'd come get me, and I wanted to save these for when I see him. Sienna wanted to laugh, but the sound got stuck in her throat. What are you talking about? He went off to live the high life with some rich woman. What could he possibly not have? Leo shook his head. No, he didn't. Dad always said he wasn't hungry. At first I said I wasn't hungry so he'd eat more. Later, when the disease took over, I really couldn't eat. The man next to Sienna asked, why is there a cremation urn on the floor? The man's words hung in the air like a guillotine blade waiting to drop. Cremation urn? Sienna frowned, looking at the dirty wooden box Leo was clutching. What are you talking about? That's just a box of junk. The man in the white shirt shook his head slowly. Sienna, my uncle is a funeral director. I know that box. It's the standard issue urn provided by the state for people who die with no money and no family to claim them. The color drained from Sienna's face. She looked from the man to Leo, then down to the box. Leo panicked. He pulled the box tighter against his small chest, backing away until he hit the wall. No. It's not a urn thingy. It's Dad's house. He's sleeping in here until he wakes up. My ghost froze. Oh no. Leo. Sienna's hands were shaking. She walked toward Leo, her steps heavy and uneven. Leo, her voice trembled. Give me the box. No. You're mean. You'll throw him away. Give it to me. She didn't mean to shout, but panic was seizing her throat. She lunged forward and wrestled the box from his small, weak grip. The lid, worn from being opened so many times by my son, popped off. There was no money left inside. We had spent the last $1,000 on food weeks ago. Inside, there was only a heavy plastic bag of gray ash, a crumpled photo of the three of us from 5 years ago, and a folded piece of paper. Sienna stared at the ash. Her breath hitched. She reached in with trembling fingers and pulled out the paper. It was the receipt for the heart surgery, dated 3 years ago. The amount was exactly $50,000. The money she had thrown at me. Stapled to it was my death certificate. Dean Harrison. Cause of death. Untreated stage 4 stomach cancer. Malnutrition. The silence in the room was deafening. I saw the realization hit Sienna like a physical blow. Her knees gave out, and she collapsed onto the floor, clutching the papers. He didn't spend it, she whispered, her voice breaking. He used it for the surgery. For Leo. She looked at the date on the death certificate. He's been dead for 3 months? But he came to my door. He came. He didn't come, Leo sobbed, wiping his nose on his sleeve. I called you. Dad told me to call you before he went to sleep. He said you were the only safe place left. Sienna looked at the photo of us. Then she looked at Leo. Really looked at him. She saw my eyes, her nose, and the scar on his chest from the surgery she had unknowingly paid for. The baby, she gasped, turning to the man in the white shirt, who looked horrified. The doctor told me it was a stillbirth. Dean took the baby away to bury it. He didn't die? I whispered, though she couldn't hear me. I took him because you were bankrupt, Sienna. You couldn't afford the surgery he needed to survive. I had to make you hate me so you'd let me go. I had to become the villain so you could rebuild your life. Leo walked over to her, tears streaming down his face. Are you mad at Dad? Please don't be mad. He hurt a lot. He coughed blood all the time. But he smiled when he looked at your picture. Sienna let out a sound that wasn't human, a raw, guttural wail of pure agony. She pulled Leo into her arms, burying her face in his dirty, matted hair. Oh God, Dean, she screamed, rocking back and forth. I told you to die. I told you to disappear. And you did, you really did. She looked up, her eyes scanning the empty room, looking right through me. I'm sorry. Dean, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I thought you were happy. I thought you left me. The man in the white shirt quietly stood up and walked out the front door, closing it softly. He knew there was no place for him here. I watched as Sienna cried until she had no tears left. Then, she gently placed the wooden box on the velvet sofa, the spot of honor. She held Leo's face in her hands. Leo, she choked out. I'm not the mean lady. I'm your mommy. Leo blinked, confused. But Daddy said mommy is a queen in a big castle. I am, she sobbed, kissing his forehead. And you are my prince. And Daddy was the bravest knight of all. I felt a lightness take over my chest. The heavy chains of guilt and worry that had tethered me to this world were snapping, one by one. Leo was safe. Sienna knew the truth. She wouldn't abandon him. Sienna stood up, carrying Leo in her arms. She looked at the urn, and then, for a split second, her eyes seemed to lock directly onto mine. I love you, Dean, she whispered into the empty air. I will take care of him. I promise. You can rest now. Leo waved at the empty space. Night-night, Daddy. I smiled. It was the first time in 5 years I felt no pain. Good night, my loves, I whispered. As I faded into the light, the last thing I saw was my wife ordering the grandest feast the city could provide. And my son finally safe in his mother's arms.